What's up out there? Welcome back to some more Melver Idle Adventure Mode, and we are on episode 24. Now, in the last video, I think I was working on a lot of rune crafting, and I was checking out, let's see here, the auto rune crafting options. And we a couple of you guys and I discussed this whole thing on how this works. I figured out what it does, and it's literally what it says. Crafted by ratios based on your selection. So you can do this in multiple different ways, but the way I was doing things before worked and it was doing what I wanted. But I think the way this is intended is that if you go into your magic spell book and you look at let's say this example here, this one uses 7 air, 1 ancient, and 10 fire. So what you would do is come over here to this thing and set it to 7, 1, and 10. And that would make that ratio so that you could cast. That's what this lowest cast is, or max cast, or whatever, is that you're going to cast that spell that many times. And there's nothing that ties this to your spell book. So basically what you have to do is go look at your spell book and then come back here and then adjust everything to match whatever you're doing. So if you're going to do auroras or curses or whatever, you would have to factor all those into it, and you'd have to just track it all. Now, what I did for this, I was working on getting like 500,000 or 1 million of each kind of rune or whatever. And what I ended up doing after I sat down and looked at this for a while and digested how this thing works and focused on it a little bit more, what I did is I went in and looked at every single one of these spells, and I looked at what the worst case scenario was. So in this case, this is using 10 fire runes. But if I say switch over here to here, this one's using 20 for this ignite spell. So basically what I did is just looked at every kind of rune and looked for the worst case scenario. And the worst I could find was 4 mind runes at one time, or 25 air. 30 fire runes was like the worst one out of all of them. But then I just kind of went in here. I did not do any of the special runes or the combination ones. I didn't do any of those. And I did let it do the some of the newer stuff from the Throne of the Herald, but I didn't have the pure essence that I needed. So I had to go mine some. It went off and started mining, and then it would come back and do some craft or rune crafting, and then it would go back and do mining. And I thought, you know what? This is not what I want to work on right now. I don't need to have 120 rune crafting, so I don't care. All I wanted was a pile of runes that I could use to go start working on the end game portion, the god dungeons and, all the grind that I have to do for this. So once I figured all this out, long story short, I went in, took the worst case scenario, put all these in here, and then said, I want to cast all these 20,000 times. So for 30 runes, I can cast 13,481 times. That's 30 divided into this, basically gives you how many you can cast. So with this at 20,000, most of these are going to be at the level. I would need to craft more fire at this point, but then everything else is already meeting the goals based on the ratio of this divided into that, pretty much. So that's how this works. And I let this go for a while. It finished off. Everything got done the way it needed to be done. And then I went back and started going into combat again. I did a little bit of mining. Let's just say I did a little bit of mining here before we get to the combat part. I did hit 120 in mining. And that's the reason why I have to mention this. So I had the auto miner on, I think I had something on, and it was just mining up a storm, but it wasn't like I wanted it to do rune essence, and I didn't catch what it was doing until afterwards. It just went and started mining all kinds of different stuff. And I hit 120 and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that wasn't really the goal I was after. So you kind of got to watch these mods. It's great to have all this stuff on here, but when it starts doing things that you don't anticipate or don't think about, you just wind up with stuff in your inventory, or you wind up not getting the stuff you want in your inventory. But anyway, I did mine up a whole bunch of rune essence. So if I go click on air runes, I've got like 150,000 rune essence. I did get some pure. I got about 25,000, so I could do some, but pretty much that kind of lays that to rest. Mining's done. Rune crafting is on its way. I like this auto rune crafter, and now that I understand how it works, I think this is what I want to do, is just let it sit here. because every time you increment this up, it'll just start working on all the different runes. You know what I mean? So if I have a little bit extra, like I don't care if I'm exact on every single spell. If I just set this to where it runs and does a quantity of all of them, I've always done like 500,000 or 1,000,000 of each rune, but there are some runes that you use a lot more of. So this kind of takes that into account, and then you just adjust this to whatever needs to go, and you'll get whatever quantity you want out of it, and then the rest will fall into however they're going to used or be used. If any of that makes sense, that's the theory behind it anyway. So from there, I went back into combat again, and I worked on Slayer tasks, as you see that I am doing here. I did complete all of the elite Slayer tasks, so I now have the elite gear. And I went ahead and bought a second helmet for each of the combat styles. So I've got an additional one in there. That's once we get into the further stuff like the Unhallowed Wasteland, you're going to need 3 pieces of Slayer gear. So I went ahead and purchased it and upgraded them all the way. And you can see I have a nice healthy chunk of Slayer coin right there, 3 million. I think I bought, there was an agility obstacle. I think it was 11 or 12, maybe it was 13. One of these I needed 3 million Slayer coin for. Might have been this one. In fact, I think it was this one. Well, maybe it's not this one. There was one I needed 3 million for. Was it this one? I don't know. Whatever. Oh, it was the pillar. That's what it was. No. Yeah, the pillar. Yep. That's what I wanted. I hadn't traded that over. So there we go. That's done. I knew there was a reason I was saving all that Slayer coin for something. So this will give me some more Slayer negation and preserve prayer points. -3 prayer point cost, which is going to be good. Extra gold, some lifesteal, and some hit point regen. I was waiting to get that. I knew I needed one of these, and I knew I needed some money. What I did is I ended up buying the Unhallowed Wasteland for 3 million, or buying access to that for 3 million, and not getting that pillar. So anyway, the pillar's bought, that's done. We're good to go there. So I totally forgot why I had that money. So what I am working on is the master task now. Now this is the last thing that I can work on before we get into the expansion. Can't do anything else. So I'm working on this for the moment. And I kind of want to push on these because that opens up some of these agility pillars here. Like you saw me looking at some of these other ones, because there are some things that require higher Slayer tiers, and not these. It might be this one here. I have to have 110 Slayer. So I need 110 for this stuff. This gives more damage to dungeon monsters and stuff like that. I think I want to get this before we start doing Impending Darkness. So I'm working on this now, and that's why I'm looking at getting 110 Slayer. Same thing with this one. Like once I hit 110 Slayer, I get better Slayer coin, better negation, stuff like that. That will make, or that one might be better for Impending Darkness, because that takes into account all the Slayer areas that Impending Darkness has. Anyway, I still need to get to 110 Slayer. So we're working on that. I did, like I said, I got the elite one done. I started on the master one. I did the Fury of the Elemental Zodiac grind. So I have one of these things now. Just one, because there is a township task under, we can turn one in. Sweet. All right. So I do have one of these. I just need to start working on the Amulets of Torture and Fury, which I did start doing the Amulets of Torture, fighting the, these devil dudes. What is it, in Penumbra? Fierce Devils, start fighting them. That's my favorite way to go there. There's a dungeon you can get those out of, but I don't need anything out of the dungeon, and I don't care. I just go fight those things. To me, it's just as quick to go with those guys as it is the other one. I don't know. But anyway, I've been bouncing back and forth between those. Like if I let it run overnight, because, you know, your Slayer tasks end and then you just kill hundreds more while you're sleeping. So I figured I'd just kill Fierce Devils and work on those things as I go and raise levels. So I know at some point I was working on strength. I had to switch over to attack because my attack was not as high as I wanted. And then I switched over to defense because my defense was fairly low. I think my defense was running somewhere like level 90 or 91 or something like that. So I made sure to bump it up. I at least have 100 in all. Obviously I have at least 99 because I now have the max skill cape, which was a nice nice realization there. I looked at that last night. I'm like, you know what? I'm at over 99 on everything, so I can buy this. So I bought 5 of them and just turned one in. Which I'll need to buy another one, I think. I don't think I'm going to work towards full completion on this account, although it would be handy to have the full completion cape. That gives a lot of damage reduction. Don't know that I'm going to work on that, but at the moment, I'm working on this. I got the max skill cape, so that gives me all the benefits of all the capes aside from damage reduction. Let's see here. I did grind out the Infernal Stronghold. There was a task there to turn in some fire capes, or the Infernal cape. I had to go grind that out a whole bunch, so I turned those in, did that one. And let's see here. That kind of brings us up to where we're at now. I do need to get, I have a lot of Slayer tasks to do. I need 34 more of these. Pretty much what I've been doing is re-rolling things to get to these guys again. I don't have everything to fight the Unhallowed Wasteland just yet. I need to do the Dark Waters grind. I need to do all that. I just haven't got there yet. So I've been rolling on these guys. For some reason, I've had some difficulty with fighting the other stuff in this area, like the Wicked Greater Dragons. I don't know. I have all the Eris gear for the range side of it, but it doesn't seem to be that great. Like, these things hurt a lot more than they should. And I don't know why, because I've got more hit points and all that than ever. And I don't know, whatever. I might have some negatives coming in somewhere that I definitely have a poor accuracy. Not really losing, -5 damage to all monsters. So I am taking a little bit more from them. Wonder where that's coming from. Is that something I can go handle real quick? Let's see. Agility 7. Heat trap. Yeah. Well, that'll help out. Didn't realize I had that set. I thought I did have that set over to preserve resources. Oh well. So these things will hit less. That's cool. But anyway, that is where I am. That's all I'm doing right now. And I'm just kind of basically killing these hunting greater dragons because they seem to be the easiest and most economical thing to go fight at the moment, because I don't have to worry about spending anything. I don't have to worry about where I'm at. Plus, these seem to roll more often than not. So it's kind of what I'm sticking with. And of course, there is nothing at legendary yet because I haven't gotten into the expansion. What's going to be interesting is I'm going to be well suited to go into the expansion because I'm going to be fairly high level when I rock into there. So this is going to be interesting. But that is where we are, and that is what I'm going to continue doing, is working on these Slayer tasks and just generally working on the different combat styles. I'm shooting for 110 Slayer. I don't think I want to get 120 at this point. I don't know that I'm going to bother with 120. I think I'm going to stick with just getting to 110 so I can get the different obstacles and agility. Oh yeah, one other thing. These bulwark potions, these holy bulwark potions are amazing. I had no prayer points, especially fighting stuff like this, these dragons that breathe fire on you. These things are awesome. 1% of all damage taken is added as prayer points. Now it rounds it down, and I'm not using prayer stuff. I'm not using tablets, but I'm also not using prayer stuff. I have 8 million prayer points. Like, just letting this thing run and these things breathing fire on you just builds that prayer up in no time. I know I was hurting for this and I was really looking forward to getting like large urns and stuff like that, but I'm gaining prayer points without using prayers by fighting this. And even still, depending on what you're fighting, if you have that on, like even with stuff that I am using prayers on, it kind of offsets it to where you're either not using them or you're slightly gaining or slightly losing instead of drastically losing. But at this point, I have 8 million prayer and counting. I'm well set for a long time with prayer points. So yeah, this is great. I totally recommend Holy Bulwarks. If you don't need the damage reduction potions or some other potion to get by, I would strongly recommend looking at those if you're struggling with prayer points, because that makes life so much easier. But anyway, that will do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.